Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Shay, may we have a roll call vote, please, to establish a quorum? Tidworth. Jackson. Williams. Dr. Bob Elliott. Ms. Lane. Yeah.
Testing.
Present. Present. Thank you. At this time, Ms. Mario, would you be so kind as to read our board norms for us, please?
Yes, thank you. These are the board norms of the Board of Education. Number one, cohesive team. We'll pause to hear all voices after someone speaks. Consider all opinions. Assume positive intentions. Under number two, collective agreement, collective voices to reach decisions. Honor and respect the work of the board. Honoring and supporting the board decision at all times. Under number three, be prepared for meetings. The board will review the packet details and submit questions within the established time frame. Members of the board will arrive 5 minutes prior to the start of the meeting, and administration will release board packets to the Riverview Gardens Board of Education within the identified time frame. Under number four, not allow outside entities to dictate board actions. Riverview Gardens Board of Education decisions will be made based on facts, policies, and procedures, not individuals' opinions or requests. And under number two, educate and encourage the community to follow proper protocol for voicing concerns, and that's policy KC, community engagement. Those are our board norms.
Thank you. At this time, I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Madam Chair, I'll second.
It has been motioned by Dr. Avant Elliott and second by Ms. Mario that we approve the agenda as presented. Thank you. At this time, not roll call, help me.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, at this time, Riverview Excellence.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, community, and scholars. Today for Riverview Excellence, we have several individuals and groups being recognized, but I will be brief. First, if the board will allow, I'm gonna go in reverse order as on here. So first, if Dr. Candace Ramey can stand. Dr. Ramey. Dr. Ramey is the principal of Danforth Elementary, and she was nominated for the National Group Life Changer of the Year Award. Life Changer of the Year recognizes and rewards K through 12 educators and school employees across the country and celebrates those who are making a difference in students' lives. And so she was described as persevering, tenacious, and student-focused in the nomination form for her for this award. So we want to honor Dr. Ramey, her nomination, and you can support her in that attempt. We'll share that. Come back up to take a picture afterwards. Next, Dr. Tanya Patton. Can you stand, Dr. Patton? Dr. Patton, of course, is the superintendent at Riverview Gardens. She will be honored as a 2025 Woman of Distinction by the YWCA of Southwestern Illinois. That will be this Thursday, March 13. She's one of 10 women who will be honored for that. So we want to celebrate Dr. Patton for doing an outstanding job. And I'm going to give her a certificate with her own signature on it. Next, Miss Cassia Landa, can you stand? Principal of Glasgow Elementary. And Miss Landa is here on behalf of Glasgow, and as many of the board members know, there'll be a event tomorrow morning at 7:50 at Glasgow as an official recognition. But Glasgow was honored as a Promising Practices Professional Learning Committee at Work, or PLC at Work, for its initial success in raising student achievement. The school's commitment to implementing the PLC at Work process has been a major contributing factor in making a visible positive impact on student learning. And that's part of the Solution Tree PLC training. If you remember, Moline Elementary won that award also, and so Glasgow submitted their nomination, and they were acknowledged as well. So we want to say congratulations to Ms. Landa and her team. And again, 7:50 tomorrow at Glasgow. There was an email that said 8:30, but it's 7:50. And lastly, I'm gonna ask Drew Foster and Ariel Turner to stand. And Drew, come on up, Drew, and Ariel, come on up. We're gonna ask them to come up. Also recognizes Beth Forty. She was not able to make it this evening, but we did invite her to come to Coke when we host a board meeting at Coke, and we're gonna recognize her there. But Drew here is a scholar at Coke Elementary. Ariel Turner is the social worker, and if you all have not seen it, please make sure, I think it's linked on the agenda, it's also on the website. Drew was featured on KSDK's Making a Difference. He was interviewed by Mike Bush, and it ran at Sunday night at 10 p.m. And did an amazing job. They surprised Drew with a birthday party, and that's something that Beth Forty and Sweet Celebrations does for Riverview Gardens. They throw birthday parties for students. They support kids in other ways, and so I was there during that interview, and just to see Drew, how he handled himself, how he handled the interview when he was filmed. He just did a remarkable job. He also does a wonderful job in the classroom and is a good student and citizen at Coke Elementary. So we definitely want to recognize him for that. And again, if you have not seen the video, please make sure you watch it. So Drew, will you go? Drew, do you want to say anything to the board?
I would like to thank three people in my life for getting me this far. Miss Turner, Dr. Blackwell, and my father, Jason Foster.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank the board, Dr. Patton, Ms. Liddell, Dr. Blackwell. Being a part of this Riverview Gardens community, it means a lot to me. Being a social worker is definitely hard work. If you read the story or watch the story on Channel 5, Drew goes into detail about how he lost his mom. One day I was leaving the school to go take something over to another school, and his mom said, "Take care of my baby." And I remember that like yesterday. So I made a vow to take care of her baby. So that's why I do what I do. Thank you all.
And Miss Turner has been instrumental. We talked about Sweet Celebrations, but Miss Turner is really instrumental in bringing a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities, not only to Coke Elementary, but to Riverview Gardens. So we definitely want to thank you again. And again, Beth Forty isn't here, but we'll get her here at the May meeting. But we want to thank her because she's been a big donor to the district and a big support of our students. So if we can get our photos board, if you want to come around and That concludes Riverview Excellence.
Thank you. This time, I have one form for patron participation. Are there others? Okay, so we will at this time call for Mr. Frank Green. And we ask that you please limit your presentation to 3 minutes.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Patton, administrators and staff, students, stakeholders, and guests. My name is Frank Green Jr., a retired technology specialist from the Ferguson-Florissant School District and proud 24-year resident of Belle Fountain Neighbors. With the endorsement of the district's National Education Association, I'm running for director of the Riverview Gardens School Board. My mission is to enhance the educational experience for all students by promoting innovative teaching methods, providing equal opportunities, and advancing for policies that benefit the entire community through the principles of equality, empowerment, innovation, and diversity. Regaining full accreditation while upholding the pride and respect for Riverview Gardens will be an arduous and time-consuming endeavor. But imagine a district that thrives, demonstrates remarkable resilience, sets the benchmark for future leadership, and equipping our students with the necessary skills to thrive in the ever-changing and challenging world. This is absolutely possible, but I cannot achieve this alone. It will necessitate the collective efforts of the board, the administration, the staff, the students, and the stakeholders of this district. Our journey commences with your vote on April 8th. I'm Frank Green Jr., and I want to express my sincere gratitude for your time, patience, and unwavering support for this critical mission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any announcements from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair. I recently attended the Special School District Governing Council meeting, and very shortly, the board itself will be opening up elections for Riverview Gardens, Pattonville, and I can't think of the other school district right now, so that we may have a board representative on their board. This time, what you would have to do, if you know of someone that is actually interested in running, they would have to actually reach out to the special school district. And I would say they should reach out to the superintendent, Dr. Macklin's secretary. If you know of anyone that is interested in representing our region. It's not just Riverview Gardens, but like I said, 2 other school districts as well. But if you know someone that may be interested in running, they can see me and I can give them the information, or they can make contact with the special school district. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just happy Women's History Month. That's all. Thank you.
Well, I have 2 things to share, and I'm going to share one briefly in case Ms. Lang wants to share, or Dr. Patton. Today, we have the opportunity to go to Jefferson City for Advocacy Day to advocate for our school district. We had an opportunity to meet with Senator Angela Walton Mosley to share our concerns and our ideas. We also had an opportunity to meet, we took the opportunity to meet with Senator Trent, who is presenting Senate Bill 215, which would really not be good for our school district. And it's got some, if I even went into detail about you would think I was not telling you the truth. So we had an opportunity to talk to him and to express just how a bill of that, how that would negatively impact our school. We gave him some literature that he could read to see how not only our school, but schools like ours and demographics that look like ours. Our hope is that he will read over the information that he gave, and he'll take our suggestions to heart, even if he doesn't recant or take it back, that he would at least amend it to make it make sense. But we did have an opportunity to speak with Senator Mosley, Representative Yolanda Fountain Henderson, and we also had an opportunity, like I said, to speak with Trent, and we were also joined by board members from other districts in those conversations. So that was really great. It was a wonderful opportunity to be there. And just a little bragging points, I participated in the March on Selma this weekend. I walked the whole walk. And like I told my daughter, all by myself. And for those of you who don't know, this time last year, I couldn't walk across the street. Well, Sunday I walked across that bridge, and it was just a wonderful experience, and I was so happy to be there and to take part in such a momentous occasion. Okay, Senate Bill 215 was about it was open enrollment, but this one is dicier than anything we have seen before, with suggestions like allowing students to change schools every 30 days. Of course, making the receiving district pay for transportation, and students could transfer as far as 35 miles. Now, we know how much it costs us just to transport our children in our 9-mile radius. And then when you think about when there's a shortage of drivers and buses have to double back, how late would children be getting home and how expensive that would be. Those are things to think about. There was more in that, and if Dr. Patton or Ms. Lamb would like to share, because I was just so.
President, with all due respect,
Please.
I'm going to read
Okay.
what the
Yeah,
bill
read it.
says.
I didn't have it in front of me. Go
Senate
ahead.
Bill 215. The Senate version of open enrollment has the potential to significantly damage public education. The bill would make open enrollment mandatory and all students to open enroll into charter schools. Allowing enrollment from out-of-district students into charter schools would be financially devastating to the district where the charter school is located. Additionally, under provisions of this bill as filed, students could change schools every month, disrupting the student's education, and schools would be required to provide transportation to an adjacent district. So the sponsor of this bill is Senator Trent. His phone number
Come on.
is 323-751-1503. We had the opportunity to talk with him. We shared with him how his colleague, Senator Nuremberg, told us that we had a $5 billion surplus at the state, $5 billion. He disputed that. But I did ask him to try to explain his rationale behind this bill. And he gave us the personal reason where he stated that he was the first of his family to graduate from college, which I don't doubt could probably apply to lots of us Missourians. He's not on the Senate Education Committee, so I didn't quite understand how this came about. So if you have any questions, concerns, comments, please call your senator to express your opinions. Thank you.
And not only was he not a part of the Education Committee, he has no background in education at all, but he's making decisions. Education.
Phone number is area code 323-751-1503.
Ms. Williams.
I do, yes. I would also like to add today, as we were in Jefferson City, some of the other bills that were discussed, House Bill 416, which deals with school safety, making it more of a priority. They also discussed House Bill 368, which deals with the school calendar. So in the event that there are more inclement weather days or things that prevent schools from being in session, such as water main breaks, whatever, that the school district would still be eligible the following year for their bonus payment if they at least achieve 169 school days. They also talked about Senate Bill 177, which is the Charter School Certificate of Need, and I thought that presentation was excellent. It was about, if it passes, requiring charter schools to demonstrate a need for where they're trying to go. So instead of them just opening and closing, they have to be able to demonstrate a need, like, why are you going in that community? What's the need? How successful will you be as opening a charter school? So there was a lot of good information today in Jefferson City, and also Dr. Patton and Dr. Coleman and Wanda Lane and myself, we were able to go on the Senate floor, and they introduced us to the Senate. So that was nice. Yeah.
And let me follow up on that too. We also provided Trent with a document that explained how Senate Bill 215 would affect our district in particular. And so he took it, he said he would read it, and he was gracious enough to talk to us for a while. We kept him there, probably for, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know how long it was, but it was a good event and well attended. So thank you.
Okay, at this time, may I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I so move.
Second.
It's been motion by Ms. Morrill and second by Ms. Williams to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions?
Yes, could there be further explanation? I thought we were able to avoid, penalty with the IRS. What was the situation with that?
Mr. Charles, can you speak to that, please?
Right, last fall, our accounting director discovered, that going back 6 to 18 months ago, the district practice obviously we withhold federal taxes, so on, from everyone's paychecks. Then we turn around, we submit that to the IRS. The district's common practice was to submit that about 3, 4, 5 days after payroll. Unbeknownst to the people in the business office at that time, IRS was expecting a quicker turnaround. And 6 months after the fact, they started telling us, oh, you owe us this penalty for turning that in late. Once we discovered the problem, Mr. Ziegler worked with the staff at payroll and business office and first solved the problem. So now all those withholdings are submitted to the IRS the day of payroll. So the problem no longer exists. However, because IRS works so far in arrears, there's a penalty associated with Q1 of 2003 and Q2 of 2003, all the way up to Q2 of 2004. So we're aware of those. Currently, Mr. Ziegler has submitted a form with the IRS asking them to waive that, to abate that, and we're still waiting to hear back from the IRS. They don't move fast, but we will sure keep you posted when we hear from them.
So we may not end up paying this possibly.
Well, we had to pay the penalty, and now
But they
we're
might.
looking to get the money back.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you. That was the only question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor of approving the motion to approve the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right. This time, the items for information.
No, it would be the student reports, but they're not here.
They're not
And
here.
then
Our
superintendent.
student representatives are not here tonight. So we're going to move into the superintendent's report.
Thank you, thank you. We've already talked about our visit to, that was at the top of my list, our visit today for Advocacy Day. I do want to also mention that on Wednesday, February the 26th, we had a community advisory council meeting. We had I don't know, probably about 15 or 20 elected members who came and joined us. Dr. May was there, Dr. Coleman was present. It was a great meeting, a very productive meeting. We will look to continue those meetings. The purpose was to just meet quarterly to strengthen our partnership. Some of the things we looked at was improving our student attendance, and I cannot tell you how much they jumped on board to help us do that in all of their municipalities. We also talked about building a collaborative partnership to bring businesses to the area, because we know the businesses will bring more tax dollars, will fund the school as well as the community, and then improve the community as well. We provided an update to the Prop S. Mr. Scheid gave an update on what was happening throughout our district in terms of all of the upgrades. We talked about the demographic study as well as provided a budget update. Again, we will continue to meet quarterly. It was a great turnout. They had a lot of feedback, and then they shared information about what was happening in their different municipalities as well. So great first meeting. We are looking forward to another meeting coming soon. Just as a reminder, parents, tomorrow and Thursday are parent-teacher conferences. So please, if you have not scheduled your parent-teacher conference with your school and your student's teacher, please make an appointment. Spring break is next week, so we will be out from March 17th through the 21st. I do want to go back though, because apparently we're off on 314 Day. Well, the schools are closed because of parent conferences ending. So 314 Day will be celebrated on 313 Day. So wear your 313 stuff on, wear your 314 stuff on 313. And there will be celebrations throughout our district. Our state assessments are coming up. On the 7th of April, the ELCs will begin. And then on April 17th, the MAP test will begin. Students 3rd through 12th grade will be tested. So please make sure they've gotten good rest, ate a good breakfast. We'll feed them when they get here as well. But please make sure your students are ready. And we've been getting them ready as well. And then our district STEAM Fair night will be March 27th. That's a Thursday. It will be at Westview Middle School from 5 to 7 p.m. There will be 15 different community vendors, as well as the Challenger Learning Center will also be there. So that is a great night for all. And then finally, we were able, after waiting very patiently and having a committee of people to interview, we were able to hire a CFO for Riverview Gardens. We believe we chose the best CFO that St. Louis has to offer. We put her through some rigorous questions. She had to do a performance evaluation, and she really did a great job. Then we brought her back again and fired questions at her again. So I do want to welcome to the Riverview Gardens team, Ms. Stephanie Terry. She will be our new CFO. Welcome, Ms. Terry. Welcome. We are happy to have you as a Ramley. And your starting date will be April the 7th. Very good. Thank you. That concludes my.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, yes. Also, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it. I don't know if I sent it to her or not. But anyway, I am a part of a group that's called the St. Louis Regional Financial Empowerment Coalition. That's a mouthful. It's made up of bankers, it's made up of community members, ministers, you name it, anybody that has an interest in educating students and working with young people as far as educating them about finance. We are sponsoring a contest. It's for 6th grade through 8th grade students. Riverview Garden qualifies to be a part of it because of our free and reduced lunch. I'll have to send the information back. I thought I sent it in, but maybe I didn't. But I'm hoping that some of our students will take advantage of it. All the details will be there. Should I send that directly to the principals of the middle schools, or should I send it to you?
If you will send it to me, I'll make
Great.
sure they
Okay.
get it, Ms. Farnham.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, it's just going to, they selected just 6th through 8th grade this year.
Dr. Blackwell's gonna figure out how she can get it. I already see her mind moving. You'll call me, I'll get an email from you tomorrow, Dr. Blackwell. Our first item up for information is kindergarten roundup. Making this presentation is Deirdre Liddell. She is the Executive Director of Student and Community Service. And this is in conjunction with policy JEC1, school admission. Ms. Liddell?
Greetings to the Riverview Gardens Board of Education, Dr. Tanya Patton, colleagues, and community. Kindergarten is a crucial step in a scholar's journey, providing the foundation of lifelong learning and development. It helps children build essential skills in literacy, math, social emotional growth, while fostering curiosity, creativity, and independence. Kindergarten also teaches important routines such as following directions, working with peers, and developing problem-solving skills, all of which are vital for future academic success. Additionally, regular attendance in kindergarten sets the stage for strong learning habits, ensuring that children are prepared for the challenges of elementary school and beyond. On May 15th, we will have kindergarten roundup. Kindergarten roundup will be held at Gibson Elementary School. We will have a festive celebration that includes registration for the 25-26 school year. We'll have signups so they can get uniforms. And then also we'll have face painting, Play-Doh stations, word walls, and different things like that. And of course, the bubbles. So it will be a great event for May 15th. Also, kindergarten registration, we're still working and testing that site with our new focus site. So kindergarten registration site will be open pretty soon, but on kindergarten registration day, families will be able to get assistance registering their scholars for kindergarten. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me back up a second. I forgot a very important announcement. On March the 25th at 6:30 p.m., we will have our DESE public hearing. We are required to have those once or twice a year, actually twice a year. And so on March 25th, we will have our DESE meeting. It will be held at Westview Elementary School. It will start at 6:30. Our board meeting will start at 6 o'clock or 5:30 for closed session, 6 o'clock for open session, and then the DESE open meeting to begin at 6:30. Again, that is March 25th, 6:30 at Westview Elementary School. Please join us, family, friends, community, students. Thank you. Westview Middle School. It was Highland. We have moved it because we needed a larger area. Thank you.
Right.
Moving into items for discussion. Our first item for discussion are Prop S transportation fueling system improvements. Making this presentation is Mr. Carl Scheid. He is our Executive Director of Facilities and Food Service, and this is in conjunction with policy DJF2, purchasing. Mr. Scheid.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. Tonight I come before you with an item for discussion for replacement of our transportation fueling system. The existing fueling system actually was put in the mid-1960s. It consists of some old manual pumps. For those of us that are a little bit older, we remember when the numbers used to literally roll and flip, not just an electronic display. That's what we have over at transportation. So this is definitely old school equipment. The challenge with that is obviously finding replacement parts and the limited capabilities of this fueling system. So again, it's a manual system. It does not register who's pumping fuel, how much fuel is pumped, any of that stuff. So the intent here is to go ahead and replace these fuel pumps and install fuel management systems. So we would put new equipment in, and then a kiosk would be installed in which each user would have to enter their ID number, the odometer reading, the vehicle number, and then it would record all transactions. So we would have a explicit log that accounts for every drop of gasoline that would be pumped out of the facility. So that it would definitely be a means by which to tighten things up. and increasing accountability. So we would be utilizing the services of Newmeyer Equipment, which is a Sourcewell purchase, part of the Sourcewell Purchasing Co-op. The cost associated with this would be approximately $76,591.12. Again, this would be funded out of the Prop S funds. At this point, I will take any questions you may have.
I have a question. Um, no visuals, no visual technology to see faces or cars like.
So we actually do have a camera, we have cameras on site currently, so that would be yet another way to validate these transactions as well, because if we have a running record of the transaction and the time, we could easily cross-reference that with our camera system, which is also, records the time so that we can make sure that the person that's there actually doing this is the appropriate person as well. So we do have the ability to check that visually.
Okay, so had you discovered any misuse in the past, like a pattern of misuse?
There were some opportunities in that case, and that's why we've tightened up how we do things currently. And then the intent would be this installation will allow us to have much more controls and accountability as well, so.
So like a sample would be like trying to use it for their own personal vehicle or something?
That could be an example, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've changed our procedures recently in terms of how we fuel. Because before, there were fewer controls. We've tightened that up to where there's record keeping that goes along with it. A key has to be checked out and so forth. So that's how we're operating in the meantime until we would get these new pumps installed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miranda asked part of my question and then you answered the other part, so that's.
Okay, Carl, you may well stay there because I
Yeah,
think you have
I've
the
got
next.
two more.
Two. So declaration of surplus property. This is in conjunction with policy DN, surplus district property.
So this item is ultimately asking the Board of Education to declare a 1998 Ford F-150 pickup as surplus property. The vehicle actually no longer runs. It's been sitting around the district facilities for some time, so the intent would be for us to dispose of that vehicle. But in order to do so, it requires the Board of Education to declare it surplus. Take any questions?
Yes. So will the vehicle go to some type of salvage yard? Do they normally give anything for it because of parts that can be taken from it? I was just curious because I didn't see anything that says what was gonna happen to it.
Right. So the first step would be, once it's declared surplus, then we would seek out, the best available price from a salvage yard. So I have not explored that yet. I wanted to follow process first, have it declared surplus, and then I'll begin exploring that. I mean, I did go out and look around, and we may get a couple $100 out of it because they would have to come and remove it from our property since it's not drivable. So it would require to be towed away as well, so.
And I always ask this about extending any surplus to the community. What process do we have to open it up to share with the community that may have an interest in it than it just being, a salvage company?
So if we are doing something other than salvage, then we would have to have an actual competitive process to dispose of it. So whether it be an auction or something like that, we would have to follow a process like that, which then has its own rules and stipulations about advertisement and so forth. So we could in turn actually spend more money running that process than we would actually yield from the sale of the vehicle.
Okay.
So that's something we have to consider. Is the juice worth the squeeze on that? If it was a higher valued vehicle that had, the potential to bring back more to the district, absolutely. But since we're dealing with something that's in a salvage state, it probably wouldn't be fruitful.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Carl, move on to cafeteria furniture, Westview Middle School, in conjunction with policy DJF-2, purchasing.
Okay. So this item is actually continuing our improvements in terms of replacing a lot of our antiquated cafeteria furniture. So ultimately, I was working with Dr. Gerald over at Westview, and as well as our furniture vendor, who's CI Select. They're again coming to us through the Education Plus Cooperative Purchasing Program. So we have identified furniture that will replace the existing cafeteria furniture. This consists of 15 round cafeteria tables that have integrated stools. We're getting rid of the benches. Stools are a little easier for students and adults to sit at as well. So, and then we're going to have, so 15 round, 8 rectangular, again with the stools, and then we're going to put some high top tables kind of along the back edge over by the windows and so forth in the cafeteria at Westview, if you're familiar. Kind of gives just another seating option as well. And then we're going to have some booth seating actually around the corner from the cafeteria. Dr. Gerald likes to reward the students and give them, you know, a little bit more autonomy and when they've been doing well. So he has that area kind of set aside as a place, you know, for some of our, to reward some of our kids, to give them a little bit more freedom around the corner, you know, out of the main part of the cafeteria. So, and then we'd also be wrapping one of our structural posts with a table as well. So, and along with this board item was the proposal as well as the layouts and color selections for those. This project would be funded using funds from the Food Service Fund. The cost associated with this would be $72,755.75. Take any questions you may have.
Mr. Shai, would you please explain so that the public does not think we're just out here shopping willy-nilly in our financial situation? Would you explain to them why we are purchasing these items from the cafeteria fund and why we have to do that now?
Okay. Yes. So, so first I'll begin with the fact that, as you're likely aware, we're having some budgetary issues currently. We are able to utilize funds from our food service fund for cafeteria related items. This has been run through DESE, and so we've made sure that this is, you know, definitely on the up and up. We're not doing anything out of line or inappropriate here. Our food service fund is self-sustaining. So ultimately, the food service operation generates revenue, and then we get reimbursed for meals. So ultimately, we maintain a surplus in our food service fund. What does that allow us to do? That allows us to do a lot of things. Ultimately, if you want to keep your food service program robust, you need to reinvest in it. You need to reinvest in your kitchens. You need to reinvest in your cafeteria. You need to look at other food options and see, you know, can we expand our food choices? You know, so again, that's where that food service fund becomes very useful, because you're reinvesting in the program. So I can't just take food service funds and buy a new air conditioner or a new vehicle. So there are stipulations and rules, but this is a prime example of where we can make an improvement, you know, in our cafeterias and dining areas for our scholars, and utilize these funds to make it so.
Thank you.
I do have a question. This question is more related to technology. I see some type of station, but I was just wondering, how are we integrating technology where students could charge a computer device and do something in the cafeteria that's interactive with technology?
Okay. To be honest, I haven't explored that, but I can obviously collaborate with our technology team and see what we can do to make some enhancements that way.
Yep. Sounds good.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next 4 items up for discussion is E-rate, continuing contracts, E-rate hotspots, E-rate upgrades for switches, and making this presentation is Dr. Jocelyn Larry, and this is in conjunction with policy DJF. Purchasing, Dr. Larry.
Good evening to the Board of Education, Dr. Patton and colleagues. Before I start on my E-rate presentation, I need to let you know that there is a movement going on in DC to defund, if you will, E-rate. They are concerned because, as you know, well, you may have seen that line item on your bill, your telephone bill says universal, and that's for E-rate. And people have been opposing it for years, but now it seems to be getting some momentum. But what we've been told to do is proceed as normal, and that's what we're doing. We're acting as if somebody's going to take care of it, and we will get our funds. E-rate, as I said, is a program that is administered by Schools and Library Division, ultimately under FCC, Federal Communications Commission. It's funded by those fees on your telephone bill, cell phone bill, Universal Connect. And its purpose is to help defer the cost of telecommunication, internet, broadband. As required by E-rate rules, I am to inform the board, you signed these contracts last year, they're continuing this year, but we have to each year make sure we have permission to move forward. Those contracts are with Charter for the WAN, ENA and AT&T for the internet, TSI for cabling, and the totals amount to about $357,716 from the SLD, with requiring $50,860 from RGSD. We are recommending that we continue those contracts. They were signed, that's why I sent you copies of those. So do you have any questions about the continuing contracts?
And Dr. Larry, we will make sure that should we get word that it's no longer funded, okay, very good, thank you.
Just move on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did you have a question?
No, I was just wanting to make sure that, we're just approving an extension because it was already written in there for us to go through that process.
Yes, yes. To receive E-rate funds and any federal funds, really, they have to be certain SIPA, which is Children Internet Protection Act, we discussed that before, requirements. And those requirements that we have certain things in place. For instance, a firewall, which we do. An internet safety policy, which we have. As well as hold a public hearing indicating the measures that we have in place to protect children. We did that in 2015 and in 2019. But in order to continue using that firewall, which is still good, we don't have any problems with it. However, the license has expired. We've had it 3 years. So now I have to renew the license. To that end, we put out what's called E-rate 470 form. The only person to respond to that E-rate request was, as I can't remember, Secure Content Technology. They were the ones that supplied the firewall in the beginning, so I expected them to reply. Therefore, we are asking that we allow them to supply us with the license to continue using the firewall. As I said, it is a requirement to receive federal funds in the amount of $21,388 from USAC and $3,208 from the RGSD. Any questions from that?
Madam Chair, I'm just curious on the, protection pieces. Do we have technology in the classroom where the, teacher can monitor what's on the student's device like they
Yes,
have
we
in some
do.
places?
We have what's called Aristotle K-12. And you have a number, especially at the high school, it's used in the CTE labs, that some of the teachers are using it. But we have it available for the entire district. When we return from the spring break, we're putting out an email to everybody, making sure that they know that it is available for utilization. But we purchased that last year.
Okay, another practice that I know that typically happens is a general login. Do they have specific logins where students, you would know that it's associated with a student versus them just using a general student login?
Yes, everybody has an account.
Okay,
And a few years ago, everybody used generic logins, but we ran into a lot of problems with that.
I'm sure. Okay, thank you.
You can go to the next one, Dr. Larry.
I'm sorry?
You can go to the next one.
Oh, okay. Hotspots. Now, this one is Dr. Patton's fault.
It helps improve our attendance on snow days, ma'am.
Dr. Patton informed me that we were required by the McKinney-Vento Act to supply internet access to unhoused students. In one of our meetings previously, Dr. Coleman said to me, well, let's do it just for those students. Why don't we do it for those students? So I started inquiring and I found out E-rate would pay for it, a portion of it. And I put out RFP requesting 350, and that number came from, I went to each school to see the number of listed unhoused students, and that, I used that as my framework. To that, responses to that RFP basically were AT&T, CDW, T-Mobile, Universal Networks. A committee composed of Tom Randolph, Tina Adams Turnipseed, and Jesselyn Larry evaluated the proposals. And when you're using E-rate funds, the requirement is that you have to go, not necessarily go with the cheapest, but the recommendation is to use the cheapest one. And that was AT&T. As you saw, theirs was $10 a month for the device and $10 a month for the service and $57 for the device. The purchasing the device is a one-time fee, but the service would be monthly. Again, the USAC will pay 90% of that. We're required to pay 10%. So we are recommending, should we get the funds, going with AT&T to provide those hotspots in the amount of total of $72,188. $64,969 would come from USAC, $7,219 come from RGSD. Any questions about that? I'm
About
sorry,
how many students, Dr. Larry?
350 was the estimate.
Okay.
And again, that was taken, we looked at each school's number of unhoused students. Now, that may fluctuate somewhat or whatever. The good thing about the way they're doing it now, though, if a device is not utilized for 30 days, they're required to turn it. They have to monitor it and turn it off. So it won't run into the same problem ran into previously.
With underutilization.
Yes.
And so are we prepared for any lost devices, damaged devices and so forth in the order?
Now, I can't order any extra ones.
Oh, okay. They only make.
So I'll have to talk to, this is a new person I'm working with. I'll have to see what they would allow me to do as far as it, but we can't, if you have one sitting in your office, it's gonna be turned off because it's not being utilized.
Right.
So I have to talk to them about what we possibly can do, or what we probably have in place. Should they report something lost or stolen or whatever, we may be able to get something very quickly. I'll see, can we do that? Okay. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
The last one is switches. The switches and access points on the network allow the communication. They're very important. We are finding that not only are we utilizing switches for computers, servers, but we're using a lot of our switches to also plug in the those cameras, the video security cameras. Some of those switches are now end of life. And the weakest point on your network is where your villains get in, and your security is threatened. So while these switches still usable, they are end of life and they are a threat to the network. Therefore, again, put out an RFP or E-rate 470 form requesting that we get bids on switches, 24 port and 48 port. The only company to respond was Provisions RA Network. They are also the ones who provided the equipment for our wireless network, so they know our system. We've realized that to upgrade our switches will allow us to move from Wi-Fi 6, which is 802.11ax, to Wi-Fi 7, 802.11be, this is Wi-Fi 7. While it may not be necessary now, you have to always project into the future. So we are recommending going with Provisions RA Network to order these switches in the total amount, $412,139. Again, USAC will pay for $350,318 of it. The district will be responsible for $61,821 of that amount. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as one writer said when I was doing my research for this, when you have those switches that are vulnerable, it is one of your critical security vulnerabilities, and you have to be careful.
Thank you, Dr. Larry.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Our next item up for discussion is Moline Elementary Summer Planning 2025. Making this presentation is Ms. Amber White. Moline Elementary Principal, and this is in conjunction with policy GCL, Professional Staff Development Opportunity. Hello, Ms. White.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
We're close to the bottom of the agenda, I
We
think.
are.
She put me there on purpose. I come to you about this time every year requesting the same thing, and that is some money to do some professional learning with my staff over the summer. This is our third year of doing this work, and it is a wonderful opportunity for us to reflect on what we've done well this year, what needs to improve. And so this summer, from June 10th through the 13th, we are requesting funds for 2 days of math, 2 days of ELA, dollar amount not to exceed $20,000. It's a little cheaper this year since we're not paying $50 an hour, but it's okay. My people love to learn, so they're going to come anyway. So a total of 12 spots are requested for the amount of $5,520, as well as 2 days of solution tree coaching at $7,100 a day. And the budget source for this is Title I. Any questions?
I don't know if you can answer it, maybe, Dr. Patton, but I was just curious to, when the schools are doing their, school-based budgets, is it opportunity to place it in there at that point versus it being a ask at the end? Like, why does it end up being an ask versus being a part of their budget?
I think it's our.
I can answer that one.
Oh,
We-
okay.
Actually, yes, we work with Ms. Curtis for our Title I budget, as well as multiple people from the finance office. We've kind of worked with several people, but we do request the money in advance the year before. But in order to have those funds allocated in this way, we have to come to you for your approval for the dollar amount. So this money was already sitting in there through the work with Ms. Curtis in Title I. We just have to come ask your permission to use it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last item, well, that concludes the, nope, there's one more, okay. The last item up is the resizing the district. We actually talked about this last board meeting, and the only reason I'm bringing it forth again is because we've updated the back page where we had moving some of our employees from full-time to part-time. Estimated benefits at that time had TBD, and it has since been updated. That is the reason we are bringing it forth again for the update. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
On the last document from February 25th, the benefits, the totals are very different from this document. What's the difference? If you look, let's say, for example, if you look under the support staff positions, the SEIA, the counselors, I know instructional coaches are no longer a part of it, but if you look at the document you have now, the benefits are different.
So, Ms. Williams, this document while this document has been updated, once it's fully updated, we will bring all of the updates, but this should reflect what I brought forth last time. If it does not, then I need to make that correction.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Charles and I are in constant communication on updating estimates for all of this entire document. That's why it's remaining a draft. And once we have finalized it, I will bring it forth with all of the final totals. So the only section that should be changed is the section for the students, for the employees moving from full-time to part-time. But if it is different, I will make the correction and get that to Shay to update.
Okay, it is. It's very different. For example, the SEIA, the benefits are off by 100,000. If you look at the social workers, the benefits are off by about 50,000. If you look at the
In comparison to the last document?
yes.
Okay.
If you look at district safety officers, the benefits were projected at 85,437. And on this document is 201,423. Instructional assistants, it was 45,970. Now it's 152,290. So if you go through the document, you'll see the differences in the areas with the benefits.
Mr. Charles, can you come to the microphone? So Mr. Charles and I are, this document is a draft and it will remain a draft until we can get the final numbers accurate. So each week he and I meet, we go over it it is updated. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, the simple answer is there was an error in my spreadsheet last month.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was simply
such
not
discrepancy.
multiplying by 12 months. I just had like 1 month
Okay.
of premium savings per
Understood.
employee. So
Yeah.
multiply that by 12 times 15 people. It's a lot of money.
Great.
It was just that. But these numbers double and triple check.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Right. And as I said before, this will remain a draft. We meet weekly, probably more than weekly. We meet a couple times a week and we're going over numbers constantly. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, Ms. Williams. This will, once this document is completed, we will bring a final copy to the board for approval.
At this time, we'll move into our items for action. And that is the district resizing budget request.
Updated. Oh, it's the items for action.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna vote again. A motion to approve the items for action, which is the district resizing budget reduction plan,
Draft.
the draft.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So move.
It's been motioned to number 10.
Okay, I see it now, I'm sorry.
It has been motioned by Ms. Maureen, by Dr. Von Elliott, and second by Ms. Maureen to approve the district resizing budget reduction action plan draft. Are there any questions?
I guess for clarification, when we are consistently just approving a draft, what is the purpose of just approving it as a draft versus it being a final document?
It gives us permission to move forward with the employees that we need to speak with. And so this will give us permission to move forward with the employees that are affected in that particular section of the document.
And that more is gonna come?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, more in different areas, Dr. Coleman, or Dr. May, not in that particular area. We are bringing it forward just so that we can meet with those employees. We can't meet with them until the board approves it.
Well, since there is no specific names on there, this actual plan, I think, could be approved as a final document because
That's
it's not
fine. We can do
draft.
it that way. I just wanted to make sure I was
So it can,
updating you
draft can
all.
come off of it if it's a
Yeah.
final document.
And it's not a final document, but if you'd like me to bring it back when it is a final document, I
But
will.
no, you're gonna do a separate group,
Yes.
right?
yes,
So, but this as it is would be correct.
Yes,
So
that
that-
as it is will be. correct.
Right.
But
Speak out.
I'm sorry,
sorry.
Ms. Maureen.
I don't see it as a final document, though, that's just my opinion,
Mhm.
because it's still something that we're doing as far as resizing of this.
Right,
So it's, even though it's in steps.
it
I
has
think
to be
it's
in
help
step.
us monitor it more, but it's to the board's pleasure, whatever the board would like to do.
Can you repeat that, please? I didn't hear.
Yeah. Oh,
Say that again.
I said that I didn't think that it needed to be voted on because it's not a final document. We're doing this in steps.
Yes,
And so I didn't see, that's just me personally, I meant whatever the board's pleasure is.
Mr. Charles, is this a final document?
it is not.
For this phase.
The way I would ask was, we were asking for your approval of these reductions, knowing there are more reductions to come.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay, and if you want to word the motion that way, that approve the reductions that are presented to you this evening, and I guess the understanding that there'll be more to come.
So the answer is
You call a
no.
draft or,
The answer is no. It is
That-
not a final draft.
there
It is
will,
not a final document.
these reductions, it's in terms of, I guess it depends on tomatoes or tomatoes. But I would put it this way, the specific staffing positions that are listed, we are asking you to approve those. So it is final with regard to those positions.
Okay.
However, it's not the final list of all the recommendations we will be bringing to you in the next couple of months. It's
And-
final with regard to these positions, but there'll be more positions to come.
So that's what makes this document fluid. So why would
The-
we not view it as a continuously fluid document?
Yeah, you could do that. That's fine. I know what we need at this point is we need to know the board supports reduction of these positions so we can then move forward, communicate that to the affected individuals. And then, of course, then continue with the additional reductions.
So can we vote to approve just this portion?
Sure. I'll see why not.
To be clear, the board has already voted on the document itself at our last board meeting. The only update that I intended to make on here is in the area where it said TBD, which was the benefits for the employees that were going from full-time to part-time. So this has already been approved at our last board meeting. We can take it off for items for action and we can move forward. I just wanted to give the board an update on where we are, and I will continually do that so that the board is aware of where we are.
So I would add to the discussion that based on the observations Ms. Williams made, that we are now approving an amendment if it looked differently when we approved it before. So
Yes,
if,
because she was right to point out there were some corrections
right.
that needed to be made.
Madam Chair, I would like to rescind my motion and restate it. I would like to make a motion to approve the draft plan as amended.
A second. It's been motioned by Dr. May and second by Ms. Lane to approve this draft plan as amended. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
Thank you,
All right,
Mr.
thank you.
Charles. That concludes.
That includes all of our items for action. So at this point, we will adjourn our open session and go back into closed session. You all have a good night, and I'm a little jealous.
I move to adjourn the open session and return to the close.
I second.
It's been motioned by Dr. May and second by Ms. Mario to adjourn this open session and return to closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're gonna stay here with me. All right, thank you very much. Have a good